Hello, and welcome to Module 2 of Linking Literacy and Assessment. Last week in Module 1, you found a student that you'll be tutoring in this course, and so in Module 2, we're going to be talking about which assessments will be appropriate for this child that you are tutoring. The main point of this entire course is that assessment drives instruction. And what I mean by that is that the tests that you give this child will tell you how to instruct that child. They'll tell you what the child knows and then what they don't know. And you build upon what they know to help them learn what they need to know. So when you get a first grade child that you're going to tutor, you don't want to just sit down and decide, okay, we're going to learn word families because that's what most first graders need to know. That's not always going to be appropriate for every first grader. You may have a first grader who comes into first grade that doesn't even know their letter sounds, so they can't possibly be doing word families if they don't even know their letter sounds. You may have a first grader who's already coming into first grade reading fluently and needs help with comprehension instead of word families. So we don't want to waste a child's time by teaching something they already know. We also don't want to frustrate them because you're trying to teach them something based on information they don't know. So that's why we give these assessments. So for this week, you have some readings to do, and while you're reading those chapters, I want you to be adding to your assessment chart. That is not due this week, but what you'll be doing is just adding to that chart, adding information about these tests so that you'll just have a good idea of what these tests that you're reading about will assess and what they'll tell you about a child. While you're reading it, though, keep in mind the child that you're tutoring and be thinking, is this test appropriate for this child? Because what you're doing this week is you're going to be writing an assessment plan. And that's going to be telling me which tests that you plan on using for the child you're tutoring and how you're going to give them and what materials you'll need. Most of this test will actually come from the developmental literacy assessment. The way this book works is that in the beginning of the book, in the front, you have a lot of your instructions and how this will tell you how to give the tests. But in the back, you have actual test materials. Now again, we do not write in this book. It would actually ruin the test. You wouldn't be able to give them again because they would have marks all over. So they need to be blank in order for you to give them multiple times. And you will actually. You're going to give them at the beginning of the course. Then you're going to tutor the child based upon what you learned in those first tests. And then at the end of the course, you're going to tutor them again, and we're going to see how much they grew. So you're going to look through this test and you're going to write a plan of assessment. So the first thing you need on that is just a description of your child. The age, the grade, maybe you want to tell me a little bit about their language that they speak, or if they have any special needs or anything like that, anything that the parent or the teacher may have told you that would be pertinent. And then you're going to tell me what you think you're going to be, which of these tests you think you're going to be using on the child that you're tutoring. Now, not all of these tests are going to be appropriate for every child that we have. These could be used to teach any child from maybe age 4 to, up to maybe 12th grade, really, depending on how well they read. I mean, probably more like 3rd grade, but just depending on how they read. But anyway, that's why we don't go through this whole book with the child you're tutoring. You need to pick out the ones that you feel are appropriate. And the developmental literacy inventory will tell you exactly what materials you need and exactly what pages everything is on and what you need to say and do. And you're just reporting to me the name of the test that you're going to use, the materials that you're using for this test, and then how it is administered. You're also going to put at the end of that when you're going to stop that test. Now, this book, for a lot of the tests, will tell you what the frustration level is for this test. It may be, 2 out of 5 wrong or 5 out of 10 wrong or something like that. So be paying attention to that and go ahead and put it in your plan so that it's easy to spot when you're giving this test to the student. And you'll do that for every single test that you plan to give. So you'll have the name of the test, the pages on which you'll find it, the materials needed, how to administer the test, and when to stop. Some of the tests may not report a frustration level, and that's okay. If they don't, then you can just report that you'll stop when signs of frustration are shown. And our book, actually, our readings talk about what are signs of frustration. So go ahead and report, I'll be looking for these signs and I'll stop at that point. The way this test works is they'll give, oh, pardon me. um, the way this test works is they'll give a baseline test. And then based on the results of that test, this book will tell you what tests you'll need to do after that. If they get more than 50% of those tests right, you'll move up. If you get more than 50% wrong, you move down. That's for the emergent test. If you have an older reader, you just need to follow the instructions. It tells you exactly what to do. The thing about this book, though, is it's written in paragraph form, and that might be a little bit hard to follow as far as instructions go when you're giving the test to the child. So you don't want to be scrambling around and looking for pages. That's why I want you to have it in your plan so I can see that you know what you're doing. You may also want to do what I did here and mark the pages with post-it notes, or even highlight the words that you'll be saying. So that's some information about the assessment plan that you'll be turning in. The plan that you make, I want it to be a useful tool for you. So you make it in the way that you think would be best for you to follow. So for some people, that's an outline. For some people, that's a bulleted list or a numbered list. For another person, it might be paragraph form. So you do what you think is best, what will be easy for you to follow. When you turn this in, I will review it and give feedback, and then you'll go ahead and start assessing the student that you'll be tutoring. You may choose to give some tests that are not in this book, the tests that are maybe included in some of the links in modules 1 and 2. And if you choose to do it, that's fine. One I would definitely suggest to give is the dictation test, especially if you have a child that is in ELL, because that's going to be required later on in the course anyway, and then you'll already have half of that assignment done if you do it now. So that's a thought right there. And plus, you'll get to write about it, and then I'll give you some feedback, and you'll already have something that you know is going to be accurate on your assignment in the ELL module. So you may want to think about that. One thing I do want to mention is that the tests you give need to be approved tests from this course. So they're going to be found in either of our textbooks or in some of the links that I've provided. Please do not make up your own tests. That might be something you would do when you're a veteran teacher and you're trying to assess a specific skill that you have taught. But for this class, we are only giving the assessments that are in the DLI or the Gillett text or some of those links. And that way we're all on the same page and we all know what you're talking about. These tests have been vetted and researched by experts, so we know that they are accurate measures of instruction, and they are valid and reliable, and that's why I want you to use these. Do not make up your own. Before you give these tests, or even before you write your plan, I would seriously suggest reading through the instructions a couple of times, maybe even a few times. It's actually not a lot of reading, just to make sure that you understand it. There is a lot of jumping around, and that's because, not all these children are going to be on the exact same level, so you may start one place, flip over a few pages, flip back a few pages. So I think it's really important to understand those directions so that you are instructing professionally when you start working with a child. So let's review for this week what is due. The main thing that you have is your plan of assessment, which I've already talked about. You're going to keep working on your assessment chart and adding to it, but that is not due this week. It will be due in the future in a discussion forum format, so we can all kind of look at each other's and add to our own and collaborate on that. So I think you'll enjoy seeing what other people have added and be able to help your chart as well and help others. For the discussion forum this week, we do have a discussion forum, and what we're talking about this week is informal assessments, and you will be talking about which of these informal assessments that we've read about that you picture giving in your classroom, and why. Why do you think that these would be appropriate for the children that you plan on teaching, and what grade you plan on teaching? You may have questions about, I love this assessment, I want to give it, but I have no idea how I would implement this in a whole group classroom setting. So you could talk about that as well, or give information to others on how you would plan to implement these assessments. Our extra point activity this week it's actually really going to help you because you have to do this anyway, so you may as well do it this week. It's to go into the ongoing tutoring discussion board and go ahead and tell us about the child you're tutoring. And maybe you could talk about which assessments that you plan on giving that specific child. Um, so you would actually get an extra point for this, for your extra point activity. And then, of course, it counts toward your ongoing tutoring discussion grade, which does require you to post at least, I believe, 9 to 10 times in the semester. So this helps you out in two ways. So thank you for everything. Thank you for listening to this video. I look forward to working with you this week and reading what you have planned as far as assessments go for the child that you are tutoring. Thank you.